Let's talk about your work at Maserati. We, for me, it starts and ends with one of your latest products with the MC20. You said it was an amazing honor to touch that machine. What are you most proud of with the MC20, which, by the way, turns heads at every opportunity when it's on the road?
You know what? It's interesting you asked that. Pride does not come to mind when I think about the MC20. It is an endless amount of gratitude and a certain level of relief mixed with maybe satisfaction that we were able to deliver a product that I think is reviewed from people other than me or my team. People look at this objectively, viewed as something that very much fits the line of Maserati and is going to be a car that will be talked about long after I'm gone and my team are gone, and will appear in concours d'elegances and will go into collections. And this is something, Jason, I cannot stretch for you and your listeners or viewers on YouTube, this kind of responsibility, because you can imagine when someone says, well, first of all, you get a chance at leading Maserati design in itself as a responsibility. But then when first there's rumors and there's first conversations, and then suddenly it becomes official that we're going back to designing a super sports car, there is a moment of joy. But I guarantee you, Jason, it didn't last longer than maybe half a day, because then this weight on your shoulder weight comes in, because you're realizing this is not a car for a 3-year lease contract. This is a car, again, they're going to speak about in 50 years, maybe beyond that. And this responsibility still sends shivers down my spine. And when I see the all the love and the respect we're getting for the car, yes, there are awards, most beautiful cars in many, many countries. But more importantly, the love I get directly versus via social medias from the customers on Instagram, for example, that just means so much. But like I said, pride is not the word that comes to mind. It's really more of a relief, and I'm so happy for my team to have able to conquer this big mountain.
Klaus, I want to go back to something that you said a moment ago. You said you're designing a future collector's car if you're designing a Maserati, and you have said that in itself is a monstrosity of a responsibility on your shoulders. So I'm assuming you sleep at night, but you're probably left awake many nights too.
Yeah, Jason, it is, again, coming back to the power of the team. I am not a dictator, a design dictator. The reason I can actually most of the nights sleep well is simply because I sit down with my team and we harvest this energy and the knowledge of the team, because I was able to surround myself with incredible talented people in all my steps of my career. And I think that really made us strong as a team. And so what we do is, in the particular case of the MC20, I wouldn't say we talked more than we sketched, but there was a good balance towards that conversation that we had amongst as a team, because any Maserati, but mostly with a car like the MC20, we had to solve in our head, what do we need to do to elevate the brand? Because this is more than just a car, it's a brand ambassador. And how can we do that? What is our right of existence? What is already happening in the supercar market? And there's plenty of product. And how can we be different? How can we be Maserati? How can we be Maserati even without a trident on the car? So there's a lot of debate and conversation that goes in there. And I hope my team would agree that my leadership style is very much about forcing them to give me their honest opinion about what they think we should do. Now, at the end of the day, it becomes my responsibility, together with other leaders at Maserati, to then digest this recommendation. But the outcome of this conversation then is that the car almost had designed itself in our heads. And we only have to basically put the pen to the paper and sketch it. Sounds a little bit easier than it was, obviously, but there's an important role in this kind of philosophical debate.
You've also said that there are visual things, the face that you see on the MC20 and other aspects that will foreshadow where Maserati goes in the future. And you said you did not want to design a car for Instagram. You didn't want to design a car that shouts, "Look at me," and is too aggressive, but you wanted to design that visual value, something that was made it a rolling sculpture to some extent. Have you recaptured what it means to be Maserati?
So I think there's 2 points I would say to that. Number one, why do I think visual longevity is such an important part? And it's not only because it'll go into a concours d'elegance in 30, 40 years, but if you look at where we are as a society and the role of a luxury brand, and we are a luxury brand, I think our obligation, and when I say our, I mean all luxury brands, the obligation is to deliver visual and qualitative longevity. Because I give you the opposite example. Luxury brands I do not have respect for are the ones that are commanding a high price, and they're probably delivering good quality in terms of product, but there's no visual longevity. In other words, you know, if you look at some fashion brands, they force you to rebuy every 6 months. Now that for me, you know, can be perceived as luxury because it's going to be expensive, et cetera, but it's not the role that we need to play in the level of being relevant and sustainable. Because I do believe that, you know, if you allow me to speak about sustainability for a moment, because it's very close to my heart, and not only mine, but us as a brand and as Stellantis, is that to be sustainably relevant, you can do 2 things. You can continue to buy a high quantity of product and make sure it's either recycled or it's recyclable, or you can buy less, but make sure that that one object that you buy has that longevity, qualitative and visual. And I think that's what we're doing with Maserati, with an MC20, or other Maseratis too. Point number one. Point number two I would like to make, coming back also to the rolling sculpture comment, is again, looking at society. Now, obviously, I've lived in many societies and understand there's a different approach and understanding of car culture. A big difference between USA and Germany, for example. In Germany, there's a very critical debate about cars in general, luxury cars, SUVs. And so now I can design a car that looks like, you know, that shouts, look at me. You know, I could add extra spoilers, extra air intakes, and a lot of edges and decorative elements. But is it the right move? Because do I really want to create this kind of attention that sometimes can be negative? Or do I create a car, and that's what we've done with an MC20, but also other products, that really only use the minimum required air intakes, that tries to avoid spoilers, that creates truly a rolling sculpture, and by doing that adds visual value to the environment and hopefully is appreciated versus creating negative context. And the good news is, from all I can hear and all I see, is we have exactly accomplished that with the MC20, but also other products like the Grecale.